Welcome to the Filmcast review of Madam Webb. I'm going to read the plot summary from the internet. Quote, Cassandra Webb is a New York City paramedic who starts to show signs of clairvoyance. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she must protect three young women from a mysterious adversary who wants them dead. End quote. This is Sony's latest attempt at creating a universe of movies based off of non-Spider-Man characters, Spider-Verse characters.
Non-Spider people, yes.
Spider people-esque characters. And you know, here's the thing: you got to hand it to them because they actually were able to produce two successful live-action Spider-Verse movies with Venom and Venom 2. Whatever our feelings about those movies didn't cost very much, and they were both pretty big hits.
Against all odds, Venom was a success. Yes.
Venom, you know, like, as a character in the cultural consciousness is a little bit bigger footprint than Madame Webb.
Oh, I gotta agree to disagree with you on that one, Jeff. But in any case, you can imagine drunk with power. They're like, we can make anything work in the Spider-Verse. Craven,
the Spider-Verse is our oyster.
Craven, Morbius, Madame Webb. The Spider-Verse is at our feet.
Yeah. We've got
at the
all
center
the top
of
tier.
the web.
Yeah.
Surely we can make this work. So Craven was actually supposed to debut last fall. It got pushed because of the writer's strike.
Yeah.
And so now we have Madame Webb that's debuting now, and it performed disastrously at the box office. It made less than $20 million, one of the worst superhero film box office performances of all time. But the question is the movie any good? Devindra Hardawar.
Is that the question?
The question is, will its existence mean they get to keep the Spider-Man IP? That's the question.
Do they keep the Spider-Man IP for another 3 years as contractually dictated? Devindra Hardawar, what were your overall thoughts on Madame Webb?
I think this movie is incredible, guys. It's incredible that we are brought back to the early 2000s. This is a superhero movie made by people who have never seen a superhero movie before. That is essentially where we are. And I'm brought back to that early era where there were so many experiments and so many mistakes, and very little was watchable outside of the X-Men stuff. And it took like Batman Begins and Christopher Nolan to kind of bring us out of it. But this is a movie made from a different era where everything about it is completely incompetent. And it's kind of it's an amazing train wreck to watch in that, like, nothing works. It's incredible how little anything works. Like,
even on a technical level,
a technical level, anything. Listen. I did not like Rebel Moon, but at least Rebel Moon had like art direction. Okay, it had like designed, looked expensive. Yeah,
I would estimate conservatively 25% of the lines in this movie were dubbed in via ADR.
It's all ADR.
It's all ADR. You don't see the person say the words, right?
Yeah.
It's clearly like the result of reshoots and subplots that were just cut out and all this other stuff that they had to kind of tape together with sticks and duct tape and so on.
It's incredible to watch for that reason. But yeah, nothing about it works. Like, none of the cast works. This movie dares to tease us with real superheroes, only to never give us real superhero. Spoiler. Yeah, it's just everything. Like, it doesn't seem like anybody wants to be in this movie. I feel really bad, especially for Adam Scott, who just cannot get the break in the superhero. Like, he deserves so much better.
He does not need this. What is he doing?
He does not need this. What are you doing, Adam Scott?
It's like, you wanted to add another room onto his house? Is that what
this is straight out of the 90s in all respects, including Adam Scott starring in terrible movies.
This is Torque all over again, except Torque enjoyable for other reasons.
Absolutely
enjoyable for being a bad movie.
Torque 100 times before I watch Madame Webb again.
Torque is an enjoyable bad movie, whereas this one is just like, it is baffling how every aspect of this movie, from the introduction to the spider people in the jungle. Why is the bad guy wearing a black spider suit? Why is anything happening? Why? I don't understand. Why are these characters talking to each other? Why are the girls dancing on a table? Why? Why does this movie exist? I feel like if David Zaslav chatted with the Sony people, he could have been like, I know what you do to a movie like this. You kill it. You kill it in the bathtub. You do not let this thing out into the wild. And
we don't want that. We don't want that. Okay. Ultimately, at the end of the day,
but no. Listen. Sometimes you look at a thing and you're like, I got to put a bullet in this thing's head. It is in pain. It is in misery. There is nothing like it doesn't make us look good. It doesn't make anybody who touched this movie look good. It makes us all look like we're totally incompetent. So really, it would be in everybody's best interest if this movie just disappeared. And that is Madam Web.
Despite everything Devindra just said, I have to say it really was a thrill to see Dakota Johnson take down an amazing villain, someone who's clearly evil through and through, who has nearly unlimited resources and who's convinced the world that they're respectable despite being one of the worst human beings alive. But enough about Ellen DeGeneres.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
snap.
Very nice.
Let's
Very
get
nice.
back to the movie Madam Web. Jeff,
By the way, poor Tahar Rahim, the star of A Prophet, an incredible movie. What is he doing here?
Everybody wants to add another bathroom.
Tahar Rahim, 100. It felt like 90 to 100% of Tahar Rahim's lines were ADR'd in. It was
everybody that's in this movie. Listen, nobody doesn't want another bathroom in their house.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
It's true. It's true. I want the background story, like the behind the scenes story of how everybody was pitched Madam Web, like how it was pitched to Dakota Johnson. How did her people read this script and be like, "This is a thing you should star in"?
Jeff, the problem is sometimes getting that extra bathroom in your house prevents you from getting future bathrooms in your house. If you know what I'm saying.
Maybe you just have to live in that bathroom for your shame.
Mamet. What is she doing in this movie?
Yeah, Zosia Mamet.
Yeah,
she's probably friends with like those people, like Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, and whatnot. Like they're Zosia Mamet. I loved her.
Jeff Kanata, your overall thoughts on Madam Web?
I guess you could say my overall thoughts on Madam Web are best summed up in the form of a limerick.
Let's hear it.
As soon as our hero is bitten, like this limerick, you know what you're getting. A waste of your time. At least this one rhymes, but in truth, neither one is well written.
Wow. Very meta self-limerick.
At least you admit it, Jeff. At least you admit it,
Listen, here's the problem with Madam Web. It's not bad enough.
Yes.
It's not bad enough to be fun bad. Mm-hmm. I had the same problem with Morbin Time, right? I had the same problem with Morbius. Everybody got all lathered up to go and hate watch that movie. And it's just not bad in any fun way, right? And the same thing with this movie. It's not bad enough. It's just flaccid and limp and it just sits there not doing anything. It's just kind of this nothing burger. It's if it was actually bad, we could have some fun with it. But it's not. It's just kind of sitting there. And honestly, I would even say there's some stuff that's not terrible about it. In fact, I thought everything that this movie does that attempts to be a superhero movie is bad, is not, is stupid. But when the movie, like the first third of the movie, it actually isn't a superhero movie for a while, and it's not terrible. Like the stuff that it's doing that isn't trying to fit this square peg in this superhero round hole, it's so clumsily attempting to be a superhero movie when it seems like nobody involved cared to make one. But like the movie starts with this woman who is kind of a stone cold bee and doesn't like anybody. I'm like, I kind of like this like misanthropic lady, Dakota. By the way, Dakota Johnson.
About Dakota Johnson or her mom right now?
I'm talking about Dakota Johnson.
Dakota
Johnson, not that early in the movie. That was dumb. But like when we meet Dakota Johnson and we hang out with Dakota Johnson, she's a paramedic. She kind of just doesn't like anybody.
Yeah.
And the thing I love about Dakota Johnson's performance in this movie is there is no point in this movie you are not very well aware she hates what she's doing.
Oh, absolutely. She does not want to be here at all.
She does not want to be in this movie, and she lets you know as a viewer every second of it. And at a certain point, I was like, gotta respect that, Dakota. I gotta respect that. Like, there are sequences where her only job as the actor is to convey a sense of peril, and she just won't. She's just like, there's nothing scary about this scene. I'm sorry.
I mean, we heard it in her recitation of the trailer. Like just talking about the trailers, like what I rolled out of bed. I don't know, guys. Like something happened. Our lives changed forever. Can I leave?
There's a sequence where she's like literally driving a car, and a super powered demon man is attempting to kill everyone in the car, and she's like, "All right, everybody cool? Everybody buckled up? All right, here we go. Okay, all right. What I want you to do is turn around and look at that." It's like the funniest thing ever from a certain perspective of like how little she gives a shit about this. But I digress. What I meant to say is what I intended to start with is the beginning of this movie is a woman who, like I said, kind of hates everybody. And I'm like, I kind of dig that. Discovering she can see the future. And there's like some fun in that. I thought there was actually some fun in how the movie finds her realizing that she can see the future and how that works. And there's some cool visualization.
Yeah.
As a paramedic, you see the future and you see bad things happening and you kind of don't understand what you're seeing. Like there's some cool stuff there.
Yeah. Can I yes and you for a second, Jeff?
Please.
That's my favorite part of the movie is all those sequences where she gets the deja vu. I actually think they're actually well done from a filmmaking perspective. The film employs all kinds of visual tricks like a dolly zoom or the camera steady cam rotating around her or whatever to show you, oh wow, like she was just in a vision, right? And that stuff is like some of the best stuff in the movie.
It's great. Honestly, it's like if you just made a movie about a woman who realizes that she can see the future and what that does as a paramedic, like that's kind of an interesting premise. That's kind of a cool, weird movie. And the movie like starts that way and it's kind of cool. And then it just needs to be this completely other thing. And none of that. She meets these three other women for no reason. None of it makes any damn sense. And it just shoehorns all this superhero stuff into the movie that doesn't need to be there. It's not interesting. It's not good. People are wearing costumes for no reason whatsoever at a certain point. It is like the universe isn't a superhero universe. They've not placed this in a superhero world where superhero stuff makes sense. It just needs to be that because that's the requirements of this movie. And
people expect a Spider-Man suit, so
that's what we got. I
wore
guess.
A Spider-Man suit.
And by the end, it's just like, what even is this? And it's so stupid. But again, not bad enough to even be interesting bad. Not bad enough it didn't even raise my cockles, It's not to me as bad as any given Transformers sequel, which I think is actually offensively bad to me, most of them, where I get angry what I'm watching. I didn't even get angry at this movie. I didn't hate this movie. I was just completely nonplussed. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Like I was saying, the world would be better off if this movie didn't exist.
But the world's not worse that it does exist, right? It's like
hey, a lot of below the line people probably got paid from the movie, and so that's
that's not what we're talking about. Obviously, that's a given.
You're saying creatively, artistically,
in an artistic, But there are movies that make the world worse because they exist. That artistically injure our collective psyche. This movie doesn't do that. It's just bland as all hell. It's just dull and lifeless. And Dakota Johnson knows it throughout.
I'll just say I agree with you guys. I didn't think the movie was very good. And I think we have a lot more to discuss in spoilers.
I think you gotta give us more than that, Dave.
Come on, Dave.
Like you gotta
I think on a technical level, it suffers. I think Dakota Johnson brings a really specific energy to her roles. And that energy works well in a movie like Cha Cha Real Smooth, which is not a movie I didn't like that much, but nonetheless, she is a good fit for that movie.
She's a good fit for the 50 Shades of Grey movies. That first movie is hilarious mainly because of her,
I agree with Jeff that all the superhero stuff doesn't make any sense. Her powers don't make any sense. The way it's revealed don't make any sense.
There's no explanation for, we get that she can see the future, and that's kind of set up. And then there's all this other weird stuff that she can do. It's like, what? What is that?
Yeah.
Why does the bad guy? Why can he do things?
Right.
None of it.
Yeah. So
none of it is clicking.
Basically, I would like to eviscerate this movie in detail in spoilers. So
let me just talk about one thing. Like, I knew this movie would be a problem when we are standing at the beginning with a conversation between Adam Scott's character, whose name is Ben Parker, and he's having a conversation with Dakota Johnson, and it's just like a back and forth, and then the camera is like smash zoom for no reason. Just like we gotta make this more dynamic. We gotta make the scene pop a little more. Just do a digital zoom over here, digital zoom over there. Clearly, like from one of the very first scenes, honestly, the intro scene too, also a disaster in terms of like nothing makes sense here or is believable or plausible. But just those smash zooms, when you see those things deployed so early on, you know you're in trouble.
Let me ask you guys this question.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I would say quickly that I had a friend who said, I think smartly, that the people making movies over at Sony Pictures stopped watching movies in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they're like, hey, I've seen enough, but now I'm going to make movies, and let's just make them all like they were made in 2004.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Is there a favorite 2000 era reference in the movie for you guys? We see a Blockbuster video, in the background at the beginning of the movie.
Pepsi. Nobody drinks Pepsi anymore.
There's
right?
a lot of
Pepsi's a big part of
this
Pepsi.
Yeah,
a lot of Pepsi.
The movie, the Britney Spears song "Toxic" plays a substantial role in the movie, despite the fact that "Toxic" did not come out until November of 2003, when clearly everyone in the movie is wearing short sleeves and it's like summer or spring. So huge mark against the film right there.
Huge mark against the movie.
But yeah, any other favorite? But also at one point somebody mentions Martha Stewart, and Sydney Sweeney's character I think says, "Oh, it's so awful what's happening."
So awful what happened,
which is
an
amazing.
So
amazing.
Place it in time. I mean,
exactly.
No iPods. Nobody's like showing off an iPod. Nothing is like screaming exactly.
Those aren't Sony products.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
Wouldn't they be?
You've never seen an iPod in a Sony movie.
Wouldn't they be using a Sony MP3 player? Yeah,
one of those
they had
players.
Sony Walkman MP3 player. We would be seeing them use. Anyway, all right, folks. A few more things to discuss. Let's get to spoilers for Madam Web starting right now. In order to explain the stupidity of this movie, I must go through some specific plot elements of it. I may read from the Wikipedia page of this, and so if I'm quoting from something, that's what it is. The movie begins in 1973, where Ezekiel Sims and his pregnant partner, Constance Webb, discover an unidentified species of spider in Peru with rare healing properties. Ezekiel then betrays the entire team, murders everyone, but shoots a pregnant woman. All these Amazonian spider people descend from the sky, and then save her life, and then allow her to birth her daughter, Cassandra. Pretty ridiculous scene. And then the guy who is like kind of the head of the spider people says, "One day, this daughter is going to come back seeking answers, and when she returns, I will be here." Keep that in mind for later.
I will not age.
Keep that in mind for later on. Cut to 30 years later.
This movie, by the way, filled with Chekhov's blank, right? This is very much Chekhov's water cave, because it will be back and it will be important later on. Go ahead.
Cut to 30 years later. Cassandra Webb's a paramedic working with Ben Parker. Hey, it's nice to see Ben Parker in a scenario where he's not getting murdered. I'm just going to say that. Like,
not yet.
It's not, I'm just saying. That's another. I didn't want to bring this up because arguably spoiler, but hey, that's another thing the movie gave us. What was Ben Parker's life before he got murdered?
Who cares?
Now
who cares?
Now we know. Anyway, Ezekiel is having all these visions of these 3 spider girls or women who murder him. And so he's like, okay,
in the worst costumes you've ever seen in a superhero motion picture. Like, they look like there was a terrible CW version of Birds of Prey in like the mid 2000s. It's exactly ripped from that.
He's like, I gotta track these girls down and kill them before they can kill me. So in order to do that, he seduces this NSA operative.
He goes to an opera. He sits next to an NSA operative, seduces them.
Yeah.
Of course, they would not be suspicious about going to sleep with like a random dude that just sits next to them.
Keeps like spiders in his apartment,
Who immediately negs her too. Like his smooth move is, "Would you like this playbill?" It's It's my playbill. Okay, I'll give you this playbill. Bad man. Bad.
I
man.
like
I guess
that
I
he
shouldn't try that
literally
move
just
anymore.
Don't try that move anymore.
He explains to her everything before.
Right,
He
and
explains it all to her.
gives
He
a
explains it
monologue.
all.
He monologues, right?
But she's having the conversation too. Again, nonplussed by
Well,
this conversation.
You
about
guys
a
are
man.
kind of using nonplussed wrong. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay, fine.
As soon as I said it, I
Yeah,
tried
yeah.
to take it back, and I couldn't, Dave.
Nonplussed is now like a literally situation
God.
where like the new definition has become.
She is unfazed
Exactly.
by his definition,
Yes,
by whatever. But she is murdered.
Thank you, Devindra.
And he takes her security credentials, which are she walks around with her security ID.
In order to use,
She takes it to the opera.
The NSA.
As you do.
The NSA has no like two-factor authentication or anything like that.
No, why would they?
And then he uses it because he wants to tap into the NSA's facial recognition system. Now, what Zosia Mamet is doing without the NSA access, who's to say? Like, what's she doing otherwise if she doesn't have that? Who knows?
Listen, back then, if you sat at a computer and there were like 3 monitors in front of you, everybody thought you were a hacker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You didn't really need to do much. You just had to sit in front of 3 monitors.
So then they use it to hack into the NSA's facial recognition system using a description of the girls from his visions.
That's right.
Like
he described them really good.
The girls in
This one's blonde.
Mhm.
She's got pretty face, like real pretty face.
I just watched Finding Francis, the Nathan Fielder like final episode of Nathan for You, and there is a moment where he hires an aging specialist who like takes like a photo and like draws like a bunch of wrinkles on it, and like that's the thing. It's basically that level of technology where it's like, here's the people from your vision. Now here's what they look like, de-aged and without masks on.
Yeah.
And it shows the girls in the movie. It is ridiculous.
But the thing
he's
is,
a master artist. You
describing it like that makes it seem fun and funny. But it's not. It's just
not
boring.
I had a good time while watching it because I was like, this is one of the silliest things I've ever seen in my life.
The thing about Venom, right, is that it was filled with camp. Like, that's how you make a bad movie that is campy and, like, enjoyable. What's his face? Like, he is doing...
Tom Hardy.
He's having fun. And I think, like, some of the thinking here is like, Dakota Johnson adds a bit of fun to this movie. It's like, no, except her energy is, I don't want to jump in that fish tank. Right. Her energy is, find me the shortest route out of this movie.
I think that kind of kills it too. People are saying this will be a camp classic. I think that
using a word badly too.
I don't know, because I think that Venom has a self-awareness about its campiness, and this movie does not.
No, I
actually think that's okay. I think
you're right that the key feature of becoming a camp classic is not being in on your own jokes.
Yes.
Or,
this is true.
Like
The Room as another example.
Yes, right? Troll 2, these classic movies that they were going for it. They just failed.
Yeah.
But this movie is not, it doesn't even have enough ambition to go for it.
Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
The campiest thing from this movie was the line from a trailer. He was exploring the Amazon with my mother when she was killed. Not even in the movie.
Yeah.
They tease us.
Dude, the worst line of this entire movie is the inversion of the classic Spider-Man line.
Yes.
Yeah, that was pretty
That is the biggest offense where I was like, are you kidding me?
Doesn't mean anything when you invert it.
With great responsibility, you get power. I was like, come on.
So anyway, Cassandra has a near-death experience, and that causes her to start having future visions. And then simultaneous to that, Ezekiel starts going after these 3 women because he wants to kill them before they kill him. So they all converge at Grand Central Station, and she manages to get them out of the situation by stealing a New York City taxi.
Let's rewind a little, because the insanity of this whole situation is also like, okay, good thing they actually shot in New York. Like, that's like the one believable element. Like, some scenes actually in New York. I think most of them aren't actually when they're trying to be in the city. But she's in the train. She's having she's losing track of reality, man. People are coming in at her.
Yeah.
She sees the vision of the guy coming in to kill them. So what she does is she just goes and straights up. It's like there is, I guess there would be no plan, but it's very much like, hey, girls, come, I'm going to kidnap you. I'm kidnapping you. And one of them, Sydney Sweeney's characters, even kidnapping happening here. Kind of hilarious. Just kind of hilarious how badly it all kind of works out.
She takes a New York City taxi, whisks them out into the middle of the woods. They mess around in a diner and almost get murdered by Spider-Person.
No. Again. She steals a New York City taxi cab, right? you're going to drive a far ways to get to the middle of the woods. So she drives half an hour into New Jersey or something, okay, to get to the woods. Leaves the girls here. Her plan, girls, wait here for 3 hours. No food. No nothing. Just wait here. Be good. Of course. They go have fun. That entire diner sequence, I don't know what is happening. It's like no human wrote that scene, because at one point they're like, I love the song Toxic. I'm going to get up here on this table.
Yeah,
let's dance to Toxic, as everybody does.
Let's impress these boys.
Let's impress these boys.
Even though we're being kidnapped and need help. Like
your mission is to lay low. I'm going to dance on the table here to Toxic. Somehow the music gets louder in the diner, as if the diner owner, the proprietors, want to create a nightclub atmosphere in their family diner. So Toxic is blaring. These girls are on the table. Nothing makes any sense. And then she gets there, and the girls are embarrassed that they were dancing on the table. Why were they dancing on the table?
Because Toxic.
Yeah.
Because they love this song.
It's going to be the biggest hit of the year.
I dare you to listen to that song and not dance on a table.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yes, the entire time she's driving this New York City taxi cab. For like literally almost the rest of the film.
Yep.
And then she's like, hey, I got to go to the Amazon to figure this shit out.
Wait. She's driving the New York City taxi cab. They take time to show us, these license plates. They're going to track this taxi cab. I'm going to have to take a screwdriver, pull off these license plates. Every single freaking shot of the taxi cab has the code number of the taxi cab, identifying it right at the top.
Yep.
I hope
so. So then she runs the taxi cab into the side of the diner, which would make New York City news for sure if that happened.
She's already wanted for kidnapping these 3 girls. So these girls are on. There's APB out for the girls.
Yeah.
She is wanted. Somebody may be tracking a taxi cab. Okay, that's set now. Okay.
Yeah, but then she, for some reason, continues to drive the taxi cab for the rest
Continues to drive the taxi. She could go in and out of New York. One of the most highly, this is post 9/11 New York, one of the most highly tracked cities in the world. Yep. In and out.
Apparently. Completely fine. Okay. So, but here's the thing. This movie implies that there was a dude in a Spider-Man-esque outfit running around doing crimes decades before Peter Parker became a thing. Right?
That's
sure.
Yeah.
But that was never mentioned in any, anyway, weird that there was never any connection there.
It actually should never have even been set in New York, to be honest. But yeah.
She goes to the Amazon, finds a tree.
There's a warrant out for her arrest.
Yeah.
Police are looking for her. She leaves the country easily.
Yep, leaves the country easily.
Leaves the country.
Cut to
Gets through airport security.
She's on a tiny propeller plane landing in the Amazon. By the way, the forest looks strikingly similar to the forest that she was just in. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I saw some palm trees in the background.
Yeah. And she finds the literal exact tree that her mom was standing next to using a photo that her mom took.
Yeah.
And when she shows up, the dude from the first scene is there.
Yeah. He's
been
waiting.
I was waiting. I knew one day you would come and I was waiting here. It's like, what's that guy's life like? Is he just every day he's coming to the tree and waiting?
Honey, I'm leaving to go check the tree for today.
Check the tree.
I'll be back by dinner.
And she's like, honey, babe, I'm telling you, you've been doing this for 29 years. She is never coming back.
Oh, ye of little faith. Don't they all see the future? They all see the future?
They all kind of see the future. So they
maybe
have
he
that,
knows
they have
that
that working for them, Dave.
At that point, they explain what her powers are, which is like you can see things and maybe even be in multiple places at once. But by the way, you didn't get all the power. She's like, well, why don't I have the poisoning powers? Or why don't I have the ability to walk along? And he's like, I guess you didn't get those powers. And
it's like the moment where she's like, spiders can walk on walls. I should be able to walk on walls. And then she just slides down the wall, sadly.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because, like, why would anyone think they could walk on walls? Why would anyone go, you know what I should be able to do? By the way, this is a world where Peter Parker is not even a gleam in his father's eye. You know what I mean?
Well, he's to be fair,
a gleam.
He's a gleam. He's a fetus at this point.
Yes.
But yes.
Yes. But the point is, like, there's no sense that anyone has ever walked on walls before.
Listen, I love the Lazaranias guy, the spider guy's response. So why do I have those powers? It's literally just the Simpsons. It's Homer going, oh.
And then like
shrug.
But how did Ezekiel Sims get them? Like footage not found. They don't explain. Did he
he was cursed. He was cursed.
Did he inject spider juice into himself at some point? We don't know.
Sure.
But he was also cursed by the spider.
Anyway, everyone converges on literally a fireworks factory for the final action scene.
Chekhov's fireworks factory. Let's
Isn't
get the
that
name
a
right.
joke? Isn't that a joke? The fireworks factory? Isn't that a joke?
You think that's like a this is the thing is
Yes.
I don't know if the movie is self-aware enough to know that it is a
What do
fun
you mean by it being a
reference.
joke, Jeff?
Well, isn't there like an established meme of like going to the fireworks factory and having a fight, but the fireworks don't go off? Wasn't that a thing from something?
I do not. I'm
I
not
think
remembering this.
I want to say it's a Simpsons thing.
I do it
Could
too.
Maybe
It
it's
could be again.
Pink Panther. Anyway,
There's like there's a thing about going to having a fight at the fireworks factory.
Yeah,
but none of the fireworks go off, and it's like subverting expectations. Anyway,
okay, that sounds like something
that
from like
they
Hot
knew
Shots.
exactly what they were doing by setting it at a fireworks factory.
Originally from this is from Urban Dictionary. Originally from The Simpsons, where Itchy and Scratchy were trying to travel to the fireworks factory, but they were prevented from doing so by the unpopular third character Poochie, to the dismay of viewers. So it's like, when will they get to the fireworks factory? So
they never got to the fire.
So
hey, this movie shows us.
Is it a tongue-in-cheek reference to this Simpsons meme, or is it just somebody thought it would be fun to set a final action scene at the fireworks factory? Who knows?
Hey, not a bad place.
As long as it has a giant Pepsi sign, that's the only important part.
Listen, again, is that even a Chekhov sign? Because we see that Pepsi sign early on when they talk about this fire station's a death trap. Somebody could die in here. Early on in the movie. By the way, even before they get to that, she's like, "Hey, girls, you got to know how to do CPR because you're superheroes, and sometimes you got to pump a chest. All right, so just keep that in mind for 20 minutes from now." Yeah.
So they go to the fireworks factory, and she just starts chucking flares.
Yep.
Left and right. She's throwing flares everywhere.
They're all throwing flares. They're all throwing
she can
flares
predict
into the fireworks.
where the flares will explode. And by doing so, she's able to evade the flares and direct the explosions.
That's cool.
Ezekiel Sims.
That's a cool idea. Conceptually, that's cool. If you're sitting there and you're looking at, page 65 of your script and it's blank, and you're like, I got a hero with future predicting powers. What can I do that's cool? I can predict the trajectories of the cool. I think that's cool.
I think the language of the movie didn't make that clear until like later on in the sequence. But again, Daredevil, early 2000s Daredevil, I feel like did kind of similar stuff because it was also about a guy who couldn't, he was a blind superhero, and that movie did some really cool visualizations of how Daredevil can see the world.
I would say it's cool in concept, Jeff, but I think the execution is very silly.
Not disagreeing with that. I'm not saying that was an amazing sequence. I'm saying that on the page, that's a neat idea. That's a neat idea of like, she's going to be in a place where she's literally going to create chaos, but because she can see the future, it's not chaos for her. I think that's a neat idea.
By the way, the writer, one of the writers of this movie, is probably one of your favorite people, Dave, right? Writer of Gods of Egypt?
Absolutely.
Love that, man.
Another camp classic.
Matt Sazama. Yeah.
So eventually she's able to direct the explosions in such a way that they benefit her. And she's getting all these premonitions, right? I don't know if you guys saw. It's like S, the letter S. The letter S must be important somehow. And then at the end of the day, it's the letter P from the sign that crushes him. That crushes. There's a huge Pepsi Cola sign, and the P falls off and then crushes Ezekiel Sims, and that's how they kill him. It's really. I think what strikes me about these movies, like Morbius and whatever, is they have so little.
He also wrote Morbius, by the way, that same guy.
They have so little money for these action scenes. Like there's not a single good action scene in the whole film, right? And so it's really just like budget action scenes, and it's interesting to see like, what is a creative way? Fireworks, explosions everywhere, and also a gigantic sign crushes him. And
maybe Pepsi can help sponsor this action scene.
I'm sure those weren't cheap.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure that sequence wasn't cheap. She gets split into 3 people at one point. I'm sure that it was not a cheap sequence to make.
It looks like it took like at least 3 hours in After Effects to make.
I've seen better work on the CW, so I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway,
I just don't think it's bad. This movie is bad enough. I think they needed to lean into the bad in order to even.
But you can't. Once you start leaning into the bad, then also you kind of fail too. Like that's a whole other thing. Like it's a weird balance to like truly make a camp classic, I'd say.
She is blinded and injured by the exploding fireworks, and then kind of needs to be in a wheelchair and wears these glasses, and that's more of the signature Madame Web
Mm.
look from the comic books. And that's how the movie ends, is like, hey, I am now the character that we thought I would be at the beginning of the film, but now I am at the end of the film, and we're going to go off on all these adventures
Yeah.
that you will never see because these movies will never
You'll
get
never
made.
see them. These three girls inexplicably still don't have powers, but they're
Well, they
still
do
hanging
have
out.
powers.
They do. Well,
They
not
have
at that
incredible
point.
powers, but we
Not
don't
at
know
that
how they
point.
got them.
We don't know. Again, they don't have powers in this movie, Jeff.
Yeah,
we
in
see
the
the
movie,
future
in the
Yeah.
movie,
to where
Right.
they have it, but
They have
right now
future
these
powers.
teen girls,
Yeah.
we are teased the possibility of powers. We never actually get it. We're teasing the origin story that we never actually see. It's amazing.
Yeah, that part was pretty silly as well. Sony still has not learned. Like, you can't join a movie. Well, anyway, I
Mhm.
think they focused too much on what the future would be without figuring out how to make the present movie into something that was interesting and compelling. Unfortunately, right? So
One thing I'll say about if you're the kind of the equation for a camp classic, right, is you have to believe you are making something good.
yeah,
It is the intention. You're putting that into the work. That is a part of the secret of the room. It's because the
Yeah.
dude thought he's actually making something great. The thing about this movie, it seems like everybody is aware it's a piece of shit. Like
I don't know
that's the
about that.
unfortunate thing.
This is the thing I don't know about. S.J. Clarkson is the director of this movie.
TV
and
director, yeah.
she's made a lot of excellent stuff in the past.
Mhm.
She's directed episodes of, or she's worked on Succession and House and Heroes, and so definitely like a talented individual. But I also know that there's a reason all these Sony movies look and sound and feel the same. It's because
Mhm.
there's one guy who's driving this train. Name is Tom Rothman. He's the head of the studio. Whatever
You
his
stopped
failures,
watching movies in 2004.
Mhm,
he
mhm.
knows how to bring movies in under $100 million.
Yeah.
And all the movies certainly look and feel like they came in at under $100 million. But unfortunately, none of them are particularly good. So, this I agree with you. Jeff, it recalls a dark time period in our lives when
Mhm.
there are much worse superhero films. Can you remember when Catwoman,
Yeah.
the 2004
Mhm.
superhero film, Elektra, right? Yeah. It literally feels like it could have come out at that time. It could have come out in 2005, which, by the way, is when this movie actually takes place.
It's funny you mentioned Heroes as one of the
Yep.
things, and it just catapulted me into a memory hole as you were talking of, Heroes was a big deal because we had never seen superhero concept taken seriously at that level before.
Yeah,
Mhm.
with good execution too,
It
like
was
good writing.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Like that show compared to 90% of the Marvel universe is terrible. But at the time, all of us geeks were freaking out because it was like, whoa, there's a TV show and it's called Heroes and it's about superheroes.
Right.
It's an amazing thing to recall that. It doesn't feel like a million years ago to me,
Mhm.
but it's so long ago culturally where there just wasn't any of that content. It just
Yeah.
didn't,
There wasn't any
people
of it.
didn't have
Yeah.
superhero content live action and that was any good at all.
Mhm.
And how far the pendulum has swung,
I mean, Heroes went badly, but there was some good stuff, especially early on. Like Brian Fuller was working on that show, and just like so many interesting concepts. Like it was better than we expected it to be. That was part of the appeal early on. Then like season
For
2,
sure.
it all fell apart.
Yeah. Well, it had no idea where it was going, but it
Yeah.
was a show all about where's it going, and that's a problem.
I'll say one last thing about this is it really does seem to me as though the production of this film was quite troubled.
What makes you say that?
Okay, why else would Taha Rahim need to redub all his lines? Like, why would Sydney Sweeney wear one of the worst wigs I've ever seen? Probably due to reshoots, right? She's probably
Yeah.
like had to do reshoots and had to put on a different wig. Why are there like subplots like Taha Rahim seducing the NSA agent? Literally, why did that need to be in the movie at all? Like, there's no reason that had to be in the film. He could have just Taha Rahim's character spawns as like somebody who has access to NSA stuff. Like, you don't need to do any of that. So there's all these like threads of things that felt like they were other ideas that were not really developed. So to me, and by the way, we have seen time and time again that people who make movies at Sony butt heads against perhaps even good friends of people on this podcast might have tried to make a movie at Sony and butted heads with Tom Rothman. So I'm just saying, like, it seems like the head of the studio has really strong creative impulses and like steamrolls a lot of people,
and the impulses are bad.
And the impulses are bad, and it makes for movies that are like not very good, you know. So I have to say that despite everything we've just said, you know, my guess is that it was a challenge to make this movie. You know, it was a challenge to.
I'm sure
to make a challenge to watch this movie.
It was a challenge to, but yeah, I agree. But also, like, you know, I bet there was like many fights that we don't even know about. Right?
Oh, like, I'm sure.
To make this movie.
Nobody like sets out to make a bad movie.
Yeah.
But I also feel like, you know, I don't know what the final script of this movie looked like. Like, I don't know what the final decisions are. But it's like if your job, especially as a first time director for a massive film like this, is to just make the movie. You know, you make the movie and you make with what you deal with what you can, but you can't really help it, right? You don't have to enjoy the process.
Sometimes it's beyond their control, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
I'm not blaming S.J. Clarkson for this. I think it's the entire, basically the studio, is pushing this thing out when there's no reason for it to really exist.
Agreed. And we will see the limits of this idea this fall. Like, we're gonna see Craven come out. We're gonna see Venom.
Are we gonna see Craven come out?
We're gonna see Craven and Venom 3, and like at the end of that, I think they'll call it. They'll be like, we're done. We can't make any more of these Spider-Verse movies. Like, we're done with it. So we'll find out how well those movies do. I think will dictate whether there's any more gas in the tank of this whole.
Maybe we'll see the Craven the Hunter fights Morbius with Venom movie. Like, that's really what all this is leading to, guys. That's what the audience wants to see.
I think that the fact that the superhero genre has collapsed even at the high level.
Yeah.
It doesn't bode well for this lower tier.
You gotta. I do admire the audacity of it a little bit. You know, the audacity of we're going to make a whole interconnected movie, like universe of Spider-Man movies with no Spider-Man in them. Like, that's just
they're also not fully interconnected.
I think it is Craven money grab. It's what have we got?
It is a Craven.
It's the real Craven.
The real Craven.
Who is the real Craven the Hunter?
Sucking the venom out of every madam they have.
Out of every Morbius.
David, what are you supposed to say?
Boom goes dynamite? What
Come on. Bad joke, Jeff.
Pretty rough, Jeff.
Thank you.
Pretty rough, Jeff.
Thank you.
Pretty rough. All right, anyway, at the end of the day, it is impressive that S.J. Clarkson made a movie. Thank you so much for watching this video of the Filmcast. Check out these other videos that we have available, and be sure to hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to get other videos from us in the future.
You can also go to thefilmcast.com to catch all of our audio podcast versions of all of our episodes.
And support this podcast at patreon.com/filmpodcast, where you can sign up for ad-free episodes and exclusive After Darks.
Thanks so much to everyone who makes the Filmcast possible.